Welcome back, Packers fans. This is Joey here at Underage Packers. Today, me and Big B are here to tell you what the Packers are going to do with every single one of their free agents. From bottom of the roster guys to like Davante Adams or superstars like Oren Burks, we are here to tell you what they will do. Big B, what are your overall thoughts on this Packers free agency class?
Um, a lot of key players that are free agents, and a lot
Yes,
of money is going to be needed to get everyone back.
for sure. Yeah, you take in multiple things into account with the Packers, just where they are as a team in general. They're coming off another playoff loss with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? His decision is obviously going to factor into many of their decisions that we talk about today. And then also, their salary cap is not in a good spot. They just restructured Aaron Jones and Kenny Clark's contracts the past 2 days, which saved up somewhere around 15 million, but there's still a lot of work to go. So that's why we're here today to not predict. We're not predicting. We're telling you what they're going to do. We have a magic crystal ball here on Underage Packers, and we are ready to do it. So let's start off with these unrestricted free agents here, which will go with the main man himself, the head of the free agency class, not only for the Packers, but for the league, really. Davante Adams, Big B. We've heard reports pretty much ever since last offseason that talks between the Packers and Davante have kind of been off and on. And even lately, Brian Gutekunst said there hasn't been any talks with Davante since the season ended. There's been rumors about the franchise pass tag possibly used on him. But what do you think they end up doing?
Man, it's really hard to say because you don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing yet,
Yep.
but you gotta assume that they will get a deal done. Mark Murphy has said they only give third contracts to Hall of Fame players, and Davante Adams, of course, is a Hall of Fame player. Personally, I don't think I would re-sign Davante and go with someone else like Marquez, which we'll get to later.
Ooh.
But I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like the Packers, although they get a lot of criticism over the past decade for not being active at all in free agency, they do a pretty good job at keeping those Hall of Fame type players, elite caliber type players. Like you mentioned, Mark's quote about only giving third contracts to Hall of Famers. And they've let plenty of guys go after their second contract that have had a few more years left in them. But I find it hard to believe they let Davante walk, even if Aaron does leave. I just, the Packers, they're going to find a way to get it done, I think. Unfortunately, with how the DeAndre Hopkins contract was structured with Arizona Cardinals, the number for the highest paid wide receiver in the league is so distorted because Hopkins' contract is 2 years. So the Cardinals just threw a bunch of money at him at once. And Davante and his agent obviously make them believe that the highest paid wide receiver should have that average salary of a lot. So it's a big mess. But Davante is going to get paid no matter if it's with the Packers or with any other team. Now with a few other wide receivers, the Packers only have Amari Rodgers under contract at the wide receiver position. Is that correct? They have Amari and then probably some other guys on future deals. So this wide receiver room is pretty far and few between here as of right now. But another one of these guys coming up on a contract, unrestricted free agent Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Big B, you just mentioned his name in correlation with Davante Adams. What do you think they do with MVS?
Well, since I said they will re-sign Davante Adams, I think Marquez will walk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, you just hate to have that type of guy leave. Offense is so much different when he is on the field. But when you sign Davante Adams, I don't think you can keep Marquez. They're just going to both of them are going to get a lot of money this offseason. And I think you only can pay one of them.
Yeah, it will be interesting with Marquez, whether it's with the Packers or anybody else, what that money looks like. Because I feel in 2020, he really showed a lot of potential. He didn't look like a complete player yet. He didn't look like he fully reached his ceiling in his third year. But man, he was quite the deep threat with Aaron Rodgers. Near the end of the season, it seemed that he fixed his dropping problems until obviously he had that deep bomb dropped against the Bears in the last game of the season of 2020. But man, he was just so dynamic, and it gave me a lot of hope. I thought Marquez was going to be great, and he was great that season. And then in 2021, he has a lot of high expectations, and he goes through injuries. He's not on the same page with Aaron, and it just all collapses into kind of a messy season for Marquez. There wasn't a lot of those deep shots, unfortunately. However, I think that helps the Packers out in contract negotiations for Marquez. I was a big supporter of the idea this past off season of extending Marquez then, just because of what he showed in 2020 of let's get him under contract for here and then a few years after that, because he can turn into something really special, and could be an absolute steal if we sign him now. Um, so now he's in that same type of situation with a little bit more against him because of this 2021 season that he had. So I think a 1 year deal, 1 or 2 year deal between him and the Packers makes a lot of sense for both sides. It wouldn't be a lot of money, but he gets to prove himself again, prove that he can put together another good season, reach his ceiling, and then after that, after a short time, enter the market once again. So Marquez, I'm interested to see what happens with him this free agency period. Then we go to his fellow wide receiver from the 2018 draft class, and that is the much more dull in comparison, Equanimeous St. Brown. Big B, EQ is coming off interesting second half of the 2021 season. What do you think the Packers do with him?
Well, yeah, he is a very interesting player. You don't really know if he's going to get a lot of playing time or what's even happening, but this could be a good like 1 year deal. I think he'll be
Yes.
back. Um, Makes sense, and it'll be another depth guy as well because, like you said, we don't have very many receivers, and I think that'd be just a smart move all around and see what he can do with more playing time this upcoming season.
For sure. When they had a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position for that second half of the season, and EQ kind of stepped up. And before that, he kind of seemed like lost hope from the Packers side of things. A draft pick who kind of looked really promising in his rookie year in 2018. He really looked like he was going to be the next Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson. I won't go that far, but he was a great deep threat ability, it seemed, or just a guy that can jump up there and catch a few of those high balls. He's very tall, very lengthy. So there was a lot of hope for MV or EQ. And then after that, 2020, 2019, he was dealing with a leg injury that kept him out for all year. 2020, on and off the field, very little playing time. He drops the 2-point conversion in the NFC Championship game. And then this year, kind of the same role. And then once they have those injuries, he kind of steps up and shows that he can be used in multiple different ways in Matt LaFleur's offense as a run blocker, which Matt clearly values, and also as a guy in motion. So I definitely think, like you said, a short-term deal between EQ and the Packers is likely, I think. Now, I think that covers the restricted free agents for the wide receivers. And we won't go everyone because just from the time we've talked about 3 players, it's been like 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know. But another one I want to talk about here is Lucas Patrick. Let's talk about Lucas and Dennis Cully together. Dennis was a guy that was brought in on a 1-year deal, played pretty well in a short time when he was on the field this season. Lucas Patrick is a versatile piece. He's not an all-pro offensive lineman by any means, but he gets the job done. Big B, what are your thoughts on what the Packers will do with these two offensive linemen?
I think Lucas Patrick will be gone, and for Dennis Kelly, I really think it comes down to what the Packers will do with Billy Turner, whether
Yes.
they he is a cap casualty or not. If he is, I definitely see them signing Dennis Kelly. If not, I can see them letting him go, but I wouldn't be surprised if they also sign him, even if we keep Billy Turner.
Yeah, I think the idea that was pretty well agreed to with Billy was that they were definitely going to cut him after this year. Same with most of the 2019 free agency class. It's Darius, Preston, Adrian. A lot of people were like, this is structured, so after the third year, they can get rid of him, and all of that money is backloaded onto that year. So in the end, the contract isn't hurting them too much. But Billy played pretty solid. I don't know why they moved him over to left tackle against San Fran, but he's pretty solid and versatile piece. He can play right tackle. He can kind of play right guard. So yeah, and if it's it will be interesting to see what they do with Billy. Dennis Kelly, like you said, I agree with you both on Dennis and Lucas. All right, we got three more, and then we're going to do a fast fire round. Just ask him Big B. He's going to tell me the rest of their life's future on these players. But let's start and continue our chat on Devondre Campbell, the linebacker who was brought in on a 1-year deal in late June of last year and then comes up and absolutely saves the Packers inside linebacker position from the dead over the past 10 years, really. Big B, Devondre, he might get a lot of money on free agency. Do you think the Packers can pull off an extension with him?
Well, I'm not sure. This one's really tricky to say. We all know he was in Green Bay, last week, I think it was, with the 2 eyeball emojis. But
Yes.
I have a feeling they're gonna get something done. I don't know if it's gonna be like a short-term deal or a long-term deal with a really backloaded contract, but I do think something gets done. But it's really hard to say.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for Devondre's side of things because not only the Packers, but teams around the league might be a little hesitant to give him Blake Martinez money, the money that he deserves. Just because before then, while it's a great story, it is the truth that he was not an all-star player, not a great player that he turned into in 2021. So I think he has the skills, but there will be a lot of teams hesitant. So, I wouldn't be completely surprised to see the Packers maybe a short-term deal. Maybe it is a long-term deal and they do end up paying him that Blake Martinez money. We'll have to see, but no doubt I'd love Devondre to be back. Another 2021 star for the Packers, surprising star, was Rasul Douglas, brought in the middle of the season amid a lot of cornerback injuries for Green Bay. And I mean, not enough can be said about it. Like, I cannot get through my head. Not only was he great in coverage, but this guy who was signed in week 5, just as an injury replacement. We didn't even know if he'd be active for a game. Then he goes out there, plays against Cincy, and everybody's like, hey, that kid didn't play too bad. And then he has like 4 games where he has like game-winning interceptions. Like, what in the world? So, B, what do you think Packers do with number 29?
Man, yeah. I think we will figure something out. I think if Rasul wants to be back, he will be back. He did say in his end of season presser that he will take very low amounts of money to stay with Green Bay.
And his agent is like, oh my God, why would you say that?
Yeah, I know. He's probably like wants to be done with him and just doesn't want to talk to him anymore. But yes, Packers will get something done with Rasul. I can almost guarantee something will get done. That is my
Ooh.
guarantee of the class.
Okay, Rasul might just sign the contract without his agent. Like he might not
Yeah.
even tell his agent, make him aware or anything, But yeah, I would absolutely love Rasul to be back. I mean, the one thing is, so you look at it and you're like, they can probably survive. They can probably still do pretty well at cornerback even without Rasul. They have Jair Alexander, the number one cornerback in the league. They got Eric Stokes, who looks really promising. He would be a nice depth piece. Depth piece isn't doing it justice, but they obviously need more than two good corners. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with Rasul. Obviously, wouldn't be surprised either way if Packers extend him or if not. Final one that we'll talk about in depth, and that is Robert Tonyan. Man, I feel for him. He looked, again, kind of similar to MVS. He looked like the next tight end red zone threat in 2020, and then 2021 suffers an ACL injury in week 9. And even before that, he just wasn't getting the opportunities that he was in 2020. So, Big B, once again, what do you think the Packers do? I sound like a broken record at this point, but what do you think the Packers do with Robert Tonyan?
Yeah, this one is very interesting because he's coming off of that ACL. Whether or not Brian will look at that as, and the games before that, he wasn't playing very well. I think we can survive without him, or we'll give him another shot, give him a 1-year deal and see what happens, or a 2-year deal. I don't know how long ACL injuries recovery time is for tight ends, but I definitely think they will get a 1 to 2-year deal done, very low contract in terms of money.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just something Green Bay will do this offseason.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were talking about after last year, like, oh, he's going to get so much money. And I was like, I don't know about that. Kind of similar to what I was talking about with Campbell earlier. Like, they look at him and like, wow, he had a pretty impressive season. But also, he was an undrafted free agent before that, who had spent 2 years on the practice squad before he got his big break.
Yeah.
So, like, it's difficult. And man, it really just sucks for him because another season like 2020, and he could have gotten that money, at this free agency time. So, really sucks for Tonyan. If they don't re-sign him, then their tight end room is an interesting room. They got Mercedes Lewis, who might retire. He's also, wouldn't he be a free agent as well?
No, he's signed a 2-year deal.
Oh, okay, it was 2-year deal. But he's getting older. He's a great running blocker for what he's worth. But Tonyan being back would be pretty nice to have that proven receiving threat in that room.
Yeah.
Now, let's do it. Let's end it off. I can't believe we thought we'd have time to do a full in-depth breakdown of all of these free agents. It's time for the fast fire round, Big B. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Tell me what the Packers are going to do with Tyler Lancaster.
Gone.
What about Whitney Mercilus?
Gone.
Ooh, okay. I think he might be back. What about special teamer legend Oren Burks?
Gotta say gone again.
Okay. Legendary cornerback Kevin King.
Man, this one's very tough.
5-year extension. Book it.
Ooh, all right. I'm gonna say if they don't sign Rasul, they'll sign Kevin King.
I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Packers Twitter meltdown when they do that. What about Shannon Sullivan, another corner?
Same thing with Rasul. It's
Depends
pretty much
on...
a toss-up. But I think he'll be gone. Probably.
Okay. What about punter Corey Bojorquez?
He'll be back.
Has to be back.
Yeah.
What about Chris Barnes?
Chris Barnes, he will be back.
Yeah, for sure. Alan Lazard.
Definitely will be back.
Both of those are restricted free agents, so the Packers should be able to get both of them. And now we move on to the exclusive rights free agents. offensive tackle, lifesaver, Yash Nyman.
5-year contract.
Highest paid player in the league. There was reports that Aaron Rodgers wanted to be the highest paid player in the league this morning. We heard those rumors, but how can he be that when the best player in the league is Yash Nyman? Like, let's be fair here, Aaron. Moving on. What about Dominique Daphne, friend of the show? I think
Friend
his
of the
mom
show.
liked one of my tweets. That's why he's friend of the show.
Yes, same. Weird flex, but I'm gonna say
Let's see your final one, Randy Ramsey.
I think he'll be back.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is off-season content, folks. Me, Big B, are chatting about the future of Randy Ramsey with the Packers. I hate the off-season, every single thing about it. Give me the draft and then speed ahead forward to training camp, please.
Yes.
But great time chatting with you, Big B, about the future of all these Green Bay Packers. Next week will be at the Combine. Should be an exciting time. We should find out about Aaron Rodgers' decision soon enough. So be sure to subscribe to Underage Packers so you can hear our great analysis on whatever the Packers end up doing. That's all we got for you today. Any final words to send us off, Big B?
Get Jamal Williams back any way possible.
There we go.
The GOAT needs to be back.
Aaron Rodgers for Jamal Williams and Tim Boyle. Direct trade. You got yourself a deal, Detroit. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll talk to you later. Go, Pack, go.